And it is on. What's up?
What's happening? Happy Wednesday.
Yes, happy Wednesday. And you know what Wednesday is? Wednesday is typically a time for us to come out and just throw something out there and kind of get along with it. Typically when a boxing match is coming on, we do exactly that. We talk about a fight or the fight in the Errol Spence and Bud fight. We did 2 days, Wednesdays and Thursdays. Last week we did Thursday because of Canelo and Charlo, and we
We
regretted it on Monday.
we might have to do a quick little show after this. There's stuff going on. Baseball playoffs. Russell Westbrook thinks he's still elite. Harden. It ain't 2020. Give it up, Russ. You shoot bricks, man.
Yeah, in fact, I think I saw a list that had him ahead of a couple of players. In fact, they had him ahead of AI. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
What?
On, come on, man. I mean, who put these lists together? But anyway, this
A
day,
15-year-old probably.
yeah, right. That's all they did was watch a few YouTube videos. But you know what? Or they heard about him more recently than they heard of AI, and it was like, you know what? I heard AI is bankrupt. That means he couldn't play. So that's how they look at it. AI first of all isn't bankrupt. This guy has an annuity. He got his big money coming out anyway. But today is Wednesday, and we're gonna come up with something not too different within the season. Today is NFL season day, and so we came up with the top running backs or running backs, prominent running backs, just some running backs you might want to throw out there. I don't think you want to do anything obscure just for the sake of doing it, but running backs from the 2000s. I think that was a pretty good glory year of running backs when you look at it. Barry Sanders was already retired. Terrell Owens was pretty much done. And so we're talking about there's a new age of running backs who came out for the 2000s, maybe even towards the end of the 90s, poured into 2000. So, we thought we would talk about some of those players.
Yeah, of course, there's some players who overlapped, but if we're going, for the decade of 2000 to 2010, then it's specific because some players played all 10 seasons. Some may have overlapped to one or two or three, so those numbers don't add up compared to the others. But somebody like Priest Holmes, who had incredible seasons, he may not have played 10 seasons due to injury,
Yeah,
but he
serious
put
injury.
his best seasons. You put him right up there with just about anybody. Maybe not LaDainian Tomlinson, but a step below because that dude put up some numbers, and it was just unfortunate the injuries he sustained wasn't able to go longer. But he played like a good 6 or 7 seasons that were 5 of them were amazing.
Exactly, and he's one of three running backs, Marshall Faulk and LaDainian Thompson included, who did over 2,100 yards in 3 different seasons. So he's definitely up there, below LaDainian only because he didn't play as long. But if you wanted to project and play the what if game, if he wasn't injured, football's a dangerous game. We know that. If he wasn't injured, what he would have done, man, I think that the answer's there. He certainly would have been one of the greatest of all time. And for the time he did play, he was playing like the greatest of all time, or at least in the argument.
Yeah, like I said, he had some amazing seasons. You knew he was running it, and he still put up numbers. It was kind of like Walter Payton back in the day. They had no quarterback, no receivers to speak of. It's Walter Payton left, Walter Payton right. Hey, here, Walter, throw it.
Yeah,
He had eight or nine touchdown passes in his career, and it was very similar. I mean, not to that extent, but you knew Larry Johnson was going to get the ball 25, 30 times a game, and he still was very, very productive. You couldn't stop him.
Yeah, just think about Larry Johnson. Since we're going to start with the list, we could just throw anybody out there. This list isn't going from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1. This is a list of people who were prominent running backs that played in the NFL in that time period. If you watched the NFL, you remember these guys. If you had not watched the NFL, take a look at some of these guys. Get some highlight videos. These guys were prominent during the time they played, even if it was a flash in the pan, because today no one talks about Priest Holmes. We've watched him. People our age have watched him. They respect him and they appreciate what he had done during the time he had done it. So he's never going to be forgotten to us because we got to see it firsthand.
Right.
But Larry Johnson, one of those guys, surprisingly coming from Penn State. I say surprisingly because Penn State hasn't necessarily put out the greatest running backs recently before then. You look at Franco Harris.
Did I say Larry Johnson? We were
Yeah,
talking Priest Holmes, right? Man,
yeah.
my bad. I was talking Priest Holmes. He had some amazing seasons.
And
Everything I
Larry
said is
Johnson's on
pointed
the
to Priest
list.
Holmes. My bad. But Larry Johnson was a
Larry
bad dude too.
Johnson, and it was a
Kansas
nice
City
segue.
running backs for a few years, man.
He was a pretty hot running back for a couple of years, but coming out of Penn State, you had Blair Thomas coming out of there, went to the Jets with the number 2 pick overall, was supposed to be a good player. No. You had Curtis Enos who had come out of there. No. All of these Penn State running backs just didn't turn out to be very good running backs. The other Kurt Warner was, I believe, the best Penn State running back since Franco Harris, in my opinion. And he went to Seattle, had a solid career there. But either way, Larry Johnson was pretty damn good for a period of time in 05, 1,750 yards, averaging 5.2 yards a carry with 20 touchdowns that year. I mean, and then he follows that up. And it wasn't even that he had a bunch of 1,000-yard seasons. It's just that those 2 consecutive seasons, 1,750 in one season, the following season, 2006, 1,789, 4.3 yards of average. But regardless, anytime you average over 5 yards a carry in the NFL, Jim Brown did it for a career, 5.2. Barry Sanders did it for a career, 5.0. We hold them in high esteem. But for a season of getting 1,800 plus, this isn't spot duty. They knew who was getting the ball, and he was still getting it.
Yeah, like I said, man, he had some amazing seasons. Someone else, Hall of Famer, Edgerrin James, that's another guy. He came out. I was living in Indianapolis at the time, and I was upset because I met Ricky Williams at the combine. Well, not at the combine. I was working at the hospital, and I saw him, Tim Couch, and a few other guys, and I just went up to him, just to say hello, tell him congratulations. I wasn't happy about what he did to my Huskers, blah blah. He laughed about that, and as I was walking away, he's like, "Hey, can you help me out?" I was like, "I'll do my best." Where am I supposed to go? I'm like, "Man, I'm sorry. I work on the 4th floor. I'm not involved with the NFL combine." And I look down and there's tape on the floor. I'm like, maybe if we just follow this tape, you want to walk? He's like, "Yeah, let's walk." So we're following the tape, and you go through a room, and the tape goes that way. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm allowed, but I think you'll be good if you follow the tape. So anyway, Ricky Williams was my guy, man. He kicked it with me for about 5-10 minutes, right?
And that's always a cool story. And on
Right.
top of that, your guy, former guy with the Chicago Bears, Mike Dickett, ends up taking him for the New Orleans Saints. He made his big name down in Miami, but Mike Dickett gave away the entire draft for him.
It seemed like the perfect fit. Ricky Williams goes to the Colts, but they drafted Edgerrin James. I was like, oh man, I was so upset. I'm not even a Colts fan, but Ricky, like I said, Ricky Williams was my guy after I met him and hung out with him, for those few minutes. And so I didn't care for Edgerrin James, but man, he has some numbers. His first couple seasons, man, that dude he could run the rock.
Man, and he was the first one, I believe, that came on during the NFL Monday Night Football when they first started doing the introductions live and saying what schools they were from and position. He was like every down back, and he was the only every down back at that time. He caught out of the backfield. He didn't come out of the game. He blocked well. He ran between the tackles, got to the outside. He had the speed to do so. He was durable. He wasn't getting injured all the time. And, Edgerrin James coming out of Miami just before they had that humongous talent pool that came in that drove them to a national championship. Definitely somebody. I remember watching him against Baylor back when he first got the start at Miami. I knew he'd be something special because of his patience. They talked about his speed, but I didn't see the speed because he was so patient that he would just wait, hit the hole. You knew it was fast and the acceleration was there, but I wasn't thinking speed until you saw him in the open, and he showed even more speed in the NFL.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I said, I was living in Indianapolis at the time, and my friends, they're Colts fans. They weren't happy about the Marshall Faulk trade, but once Andrew came to town and started doing his thing, they're like, "Oh, it's cool." I mean, Marshall did his thing in St. Louis. It worked out for both franchises, but Edgerrin James was no joke.
Oh, absolutely. I respect the hell out of Edgerrin James. In fact, Indianapolis also respected the hell out of Edgerrin James because they still gave him a ring even when he went to Arizona. they still gave him a Super Bowl ring when they got their Super Bowl win. So yeah, respect everywhere, and he deservedly so. And well, Hall of Famer, of course he'll be a Hall of Famer if he's not in already, but he's not in right now.
No, he's
He,
in.
he's in right now. Oh yeah, actually, Edgerrin James is a Hall of Famer, and you have a few other backs that are going to be mentioned. I'm sure if we're talking about the 2000s that should be in the Hall of Fame. You know what? We don't have to even make a list. We've watched a lot of these players. One of those players that I think belongs in the Hall of Fame, and I don't even know why it has taken this long. Corey freaking Dillon, man. Come on now. Corey Dillon. Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? He played with the Bengals, had a hell of a career with the Bengals, got the requisite ring from the New England Patriots. He shut up with the New England Patriots. Everybody thought he was a head case. Some of it might have been true, but he played for Bill Belichick. Belichick has a way of being the running back or malcontent whisperer, and things worked out. He did it with Randy Moss. He did it with Corey Dillon. And Corey Dillon got himself a ring, put up fantastic numbers, outrageous numbers, 1,635 yards the year that he played with New England for the Super Bowl year, 4.7 yards a carry, and just an overall great player. If you look at it for just as being a player, definitely a Hall of Famer. All of these problems that reporters may have with him, whatever, that's just their egos. That's it.
Well, you asked the question to start off, but then you went on. But to answer your question, you answered it yourself. He was seen as a malcontent, a guy with an attitude problem, and you know how Hall of Fame voters are.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even want to mention this, but it could be there's a race factor also. You know, I hate to say that, but I'm sure it is. You know how people get generalized or labeled, or there's another one of those guys. You know what I mean? So, and we've talked about Hall of Fame voters and them thinking that they have the last word on everything, and they think so highly of themselves. A lot of them should have their voting rights revoked.
But with Corey Dillon, the race issue probably could be an issue, but the NFL, the majority of those players are African American players. The majority of the Hall of Famers are African American players as
But
well.
they want their players to
Be quiet, shut up.
walk the line. Portray yourself a certain way, not ruffle feathers. Don't be a problem. Don't be a cancer in the locker room. And I'm not saying he was all those things. I'm just saying that's what they want.
And you might have a point there because you look at what happened with Terrell Owens. Come on, man. What? I mean, there's no reason why. Shannon Sharp, I don't know. Shannon Sharp is the funny guy. And did he get into the Hall of Fame on his first try or the second try? I think I can't remember if he got in his first try or second try, but I remember when he was going in, there was some issue with it. I was like, where's the issue? Probably one of the greatest tight ends of all time. Tony Gonzalez, Ozzie Newsome, you just name tight end after tight end before Gronk comes along and all these other new age tight ends.
I think he's just loud.
That's it. But he's funny. He was
not negative, not a troublemaker, not an attitude problem.
He was harmless.
He's just
loud. Funny. He's like Ocho Cinco. Chad, Chad just like to say things, but he still makes plays and has numbers that may put him in the Hall of Fame one day. I understand right now they have a whole bunch of wide receivers who may need to go to the Hall of Fame. Isaac Bruce is another one of those guys. Even Torrey Holt could be another one of those guys. So there's going to be a whole lot of wide receivers who didn't get to the Hall of Fame on their first try, but ultimately will get in there because it's just an NFL where the wide receivers are just ruling the roost right now. But Corey Dillon, man, going into the NFL, coming out of Washington, there was no internet back then. We already know that. But you just listen to the numbers that he had, like in college, for instance. Again, I remember posting it a little while back of what he had done against San Jose State. That's still a record to this day, 305 yards in one quarter against San Jose State. He rushed for 222 yards, and then he had an 83-yard reception. 305 yards for one quarter. They sat him down, man, on a gloomy day. Like, hang it up, man. They should have told San Jose State to hang it up too. But yeah, another one of those running backs, another one of those guys you throwing in. Anybody else you would like to throw it in now?
Yeah, I want to throw in Sean Alexander. He won an MVP. He scored 27 touchdowns that season.
Yeah.
He had a lot of good seasons. Finished his career with 10,000 yards rushing and 100 touchdowns. And only nine nine running backs have reached those numbers.
When he was playing, I remember how there were people talking about that he was soft. He refused to run in between the tackles. The dude carried the ball 370 times for 880 yards. That's the year he had the 27 touchdowns. You can't hide from the NFL, man, if you get
Right.
the ball. And if you're getting the ball that much, hell, they know you're coming. And they're going to try to be the one to stop you. Dudes don't run away from you in the NFL, period. There may be some guys who might not want to take the hit, but they're still coming after you because it's their job. But I couldn't believe how often I heard that he's soft. I'm trying to figure out how is he soft? How is he soft? He doesn't want to take the big hit. Why should he take the big
Who
hit?
does? Who does want to take the
Exactly.
big hit?
Did Barry Sanders run up to people and take the big hit? He got the hell out of the way because he could, and he was shorter. But Sean Alexander, definitely. And I don't know if there's any irony to it. He did come to Seattle, but Ricky Waters was there. Another player I believe belonged in the Hall of Fame, or at least get some consideration. He's like a forgotten player. And you look at the numbers he had when he was playing, and the numbers look like, hey, you know what? A 10,000-yard rusher, that should be the benchmark. But as we continue to move on, you're having more 10,000-yard rushers, maybe fewer in the future because of the wide receivers and the way things are going. Devalued running backs, so you might have to stamp the guys that are in there right now and already made their name. But yeah, Sean Alexander, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see another 10,000-yard rusher.
No.
I mean, things go in cycles, but I don't know if the running back will ever have a resurgence like back to how they used to be. 25 carries a game, Now you got to be more like Christian McCaffrey, maybe 14 carries a game, 6 receptions.
Yeah, and do the most with it. And
exactly.
Even these bell cow kind of running backs like Derrick Henry, he's wearing down. He did have this big game this past Sunday, but the previous games weren't anywhere close to that. The yards per carry was below 4 for the first time in his career. I mean, going up into that deep into the season. And even though he put up the big numbers, the next game, these guys are coming. And for the rest of the season, they're always coming. It doesn't stop. It's coming in waves. And he's going to get banged up a bit because he's a physical runner. And for as big as he is, he does try to be elusive on occasion. He doesn't take the big hit all the time. But he's going to wear down. That's just the nature of it for guys who aren't physical. So for guys like him, even more so.
Right. So who you got next?
Well, the guy you brought up, Tiki Barber. Well, I think you might have brought him up before we got on
the show.
Yeah. So Tiki Barber, another one. I think that people don't like him because of what had happened personally with the deal with his wife and so forth, and how he allegedly cheated on her. Well, actually, not allegedly anymore. But then, he put up one, and then some people think that he thinks he's better than other people. I think he was a valedictorian in high school. He's always been a good student. His brother was a solid student as well. We know about the story, but Tiki Barber was a big time player for the Giants, fumbled a lot until Tom Coughlin came and told him how to handle that football. Didn't fumble too much after that. But the Giants win a Super Bowl without him. As soon as he leaves, Giants win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he retired on top. He still had a couple good seasons left, probably.
Oh, yeah. His last season, he had over 1,600 yards rushing. So it looks like, I don't know, someone may compare it to what Barry Sanders did. He retired on top, but Barry Sanders was consistently among the best, if not the best. And he had an MVP to show for it. He didn't have a Super Bowl, obviously. But with Tiki Barber, hey, you can't sneeze at 1,600 plus yards. And playing for Tom Coughlin, he's a biscuit of his own because of the way he handles players. But yeah, Tiki Barber, man, definitely a big cog for the Giants. Was consistent, fought through injuries. And yeah, he needs to be on that list too. I mean, he's going to be on it anyway. He played in the 2000s, but he stood out.
Yeah, so him, Marshall Faulk, and Marcus Allen, they're the only running backs in history with 10,000 yards rushing and 5,000 yards receiving.
See, and Tiki Barber, of all people, you would not expect that. Even though I watched him catch out of the backfield, we talked about him in between the tackles, and he could get to the outside. He was a willing blocker too. He wasn't somebody just getting in the way. He actually put it on you if he could. But yeah, I didn't even know that stat. To tell you the truth, I didn't know.
Yeah, and if we're talking 2000s, he rushed for almost 13,500 yards in the 2000s. So yeah, he was a bad dude, man.
So it's just a matter of time before he joins his brother. So we'll see that. And this is somebody that the media actually did like. That's probably why he's part of the media now. Now he's in New York at WFAN,
Right.
but he's been doing well up there. So and he was on the Today Show, I think, at one time. So yeah, it's a part made for him. So Tiki Barber, certainly one of those people we don't forget, and he made his name. And being in a big market team like the Giants, it's going to help that along. So anybody else you
Right.
want to throw out there?
Mr. 2000, Jamal Lewis.
You talk about a
He,
forgotten
he,
2000. How do you forget
yeah,
that?
I don't know, but he was funny, man, because he didn't look explosive and fast or quick, electric, but he rushed for 2,000 yards, man.
After knee injury.
Yeah, that Jamal Lewis was bad. He rushed for over 12,000 yards.
Yeah, over 12,000 yards. He came back. What was it, 2003 when he had the 2,000 plus yard season? But at Tennessee, I remember him being explosive only because he was so big. He moved a lot like Natron Means, another name from the past. That was like a
Natron.
bulldog. They're short, they're stocky. You look like they shouldn't be running that fast, but their agility is off the chain. And he had that kind of agility. And then when he breaks into the open field, you see people kind of running backwards because he's running so fast forward. And he's just a big dude, and he's taking those little choppy steps and getting away. And he brutalizes you. Now, he had his issues off the field, but we're talking about what he did on the football field for the time he played. The injuries caught up because he is a physical runner as well. And you don't expect 2,000 yards from someone as physical as he is and someone who didn't really try to be elusive. He just ended up elusive on occasion.
Yeah, like I said, he rushed for over 12,000 yards. He would have had more if he didn't have the injuries that cut his career short, but he still played long enough to make a big impact.
Oh, absolutely. And the one player I want to bring up after Jamal Lewis, we're going to stay in the SEC, Fred Taylor.
We always got to go back to the SEC. Come on, man.
Jamal Lewis played with Tennessee, won a national championship with T. Martin. They couldn't win with Peyton Manning, but they went with T. Martin and Peerless Price and Joey Kent. But now we have Fred Taylor playing for the Gators. This is a player I actually had the chance to cover for years. So this was something I saw up close and personal. Nice guy. I don't think I've met anyone, even playing around, I'd say Fred Taylor's a bad dude. He just always came across as a nice guy, always cordial. You could get on his nerves. You could kind of see it in his eyes, but he'll still go along with it. But athletically, an absolute freak. He was so fast and so big. I think he was 235 pounds, just a little taller than me, about 5'10", maybe 5'11". I think 5'10" might stop right there. But the speed he had. And I remember when he shook so much, so hard on a cut that the bone, the muscle came off of the bone of his groin. And every week, Tom Coughlin's like, well, he's rehabbing, he's getting ready. Man, he was already an IR, but Tom Coughlin acting like he's going to come back this season. No one knew at the time the extent of the injury. In today's world of media, we would know. But it tore off the bone, man. Oh, God, and he just dropped the football. And the only thing Tom Coughlin could say, a totally careless disregard of the ball. That's what he said. This dude stopped like mid-sentence after the tear, just drops the ball. And the other team recovers, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sure Coughlin never felt that type of pain, so he couldn't relate.
Absolutely. And Coughlin did play a little football like most coaches in the same full house
but tearing the
backfield.
muscle off the bone, man, that's
never had anything tear off the bone.
That's a different kind of pain there, man.
I can't even imagine that kind of pain. The groin. I've had sore groins. I had somewhat of a pulled groin for a while. Tearing off the bone, man. Man, you just showed me. That's it. Forget it. That'll be the anesthesia.
That's crazy. Just thinking about it. I can't imagine the feeling of it.
Well, this is the same
Fred Taylor, awesome running back. He catch out of the backfield also. In 2000, he rushed for like 11,500 yards, had over 50 touchdowns. Another productive guy. Fantasy guys know. If you had to play against him or you had him on your team, Fred Taylor was always in the lineup.
And when he and Maurice Jones-Drew got together, they were even more dynamic. You couldn't even defend them. They were that good. And it made Maurice Jones-Drew look a lot better, even though he was good enough to begin with coming out of UCLA, little fire plug guy. But Fred Taylor, man, if he plays with a major market team, you're talking about him still to this day about what Fred Taylor used to do. He's respected like here in Jacksonville, like he should be. This is Gator Town and all that type of stuff. So everybody respects him because he's a Gator. played for the Jaguars, the best running back the Jaguars have ever had, and that includes Maurice Jones-Drew. And, definitely deserved to be on the list.
Yeah, so my next guy, you'll like this one, Clinton Portis.
Oh, damn sure I like that one. Bro, not even because it's the U, but because he was that good, especially with Denver. I
Yeah,
mean, when
so
he played, Clinton
he
Portis.
rushed for almost 12,000 yards and had the 80 touchdowns in the 2000s. We're talking about all these guys. He did this, he did that. He's right up there with them, man. He was very productive, and
Man,
I mentioned Jamal Lewis didn't look electric or explosive, but Clinton Portis did.
oh yeah, this is a Mississippi boy here, and he could run. I mean, he was blazing fast. I remember him playing for Miami when he played against, in fact, fumbled a couple of times against East Carolina, and they lost to East Carolina when David Garrard, I believe, was the quarterback that year. But he came from that same pool of running backs: Willis McGahee, Frank Gore, and him. Are you kidding? I mean, these three guys were on the same backfield. And at one point, he was the best guy there for the job until he saw Frank Gore coming up as a true freshman. But in his rookie year with Denver, over 1,500 yards, pretty much shut it down, let him know that he was on the set. And he just completely just blew up. 5.5 yards a carry in his rookie year. The following year, 1,591, almost 1,600 yards rushing. The same 5.5 yards a carry again. This guy, he was insane. But then he started doing the money thing. He could have stayed in Denver, been part of a championship, but he started talking about the money. And you know how it is. Why should I have to wait? This is your rookie deal. I outperformed my rookie deal. And in 2 seasons, who the hell was going to argue? They trade him in a very rare star-for-star trade for Chet Bailey and a second rounder. Chet Bailey would have been good enough. You know what I mean? But they threw in a second rounder. And then he has a solid career with Washington, and then the concussions and all the other stuff, the injuries. He made a name for himself for a little while. And, wearing those crazy costumes, doing these little media interviews. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Clinton Portis, certainly, man.
I just want to mention something because you mentioned he rushed for 1,500 yards so many times. Back before the NFL schedule went to 16 games, 1,000 yards was a milestone. It was a benchmark.
Yeah.
But then you had 2 more games, 1,000 yards. Nah, that ain't no big deal.
Yep.
1,200 yards, 1,250 yards and more. Now you're talking because it translates because of the
exactly. Just for inflation, pretty much.
So, but somebody running for 1,500 yards or more, they're putting in work, man. 1,500 yards.
And 5.5 yards a carry.
That's getting close to 100 yards a game.
Yeah.
For a 16-game season.
And, you look at OJ, the original OG, and going by the way things went down. But, hey, 14 games is when his 2,000-plus yard season came. And I also remember Barry Sanders when he did his 2,053 yards. If you remember, he had those 53 yards in the first 2 games of the season. And people were killing Bobby Ross about not using him the right way. He had those 53 yards in the first 2 games.
They figured it out.
14 games, 2,000 yards. And over 6 yards a carry, about 6 yards a carry after that. So, Barry could be one of those guys that in 14 games showed that he could get at least 2,000 on the nose.
Yeah. My guy Sweetness, man, he was on his way till they went to New York and there was an ice storm. Nobody could run.
He just slipped and
slide. Last game of the year. I think he only needed like 140 yards. Man, he was running that was the year he ran for 275. But he had 160-yard games, 180-yard games.
Yep.
Hey, man, them Giants weren't going to stop
1976. And they should have, you know what? 77. They should have put 76 or 77?
77.
All right. So they should have just played the Jets because it seems like everyone who gets their 2,000 yards does it against the Jets. OJ did it against the Jets. Barry Sanders did it against the Jets. And I don't know what the deal is, man. If you're on the cusp of getting 2,000 yards and you think that it might be out of your range, and if the Jets play that last game, you're 250 yards down, you probably get it. 250 yards down. Play them. Even now with the defense they have. But it just happened to be that way with some of these teams. With the Jets in particular. So a player I like to throw out there, Steven Jackson. Remember Steven Jackson?
Yeah. Not Steven the basketball player, right?
Not that guy. Yeah, all of a sudden the boxer, Steven Jackson, the boxer, right? This guy's a much better now. Now he's the big time gangster and boxer. Steven Jackson, man, he was a heck of a player. Played for the Rams. Came out of Oregon State. He came out right after Ken Simulton came in, when Ken Simulton was pretty much finishing up his career as a running back, undersized running back, playing for Oregon State. But he was a big back, and in 2006 he had over 1,500 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns. But still, his value was also to be so big. You don't necessarily see the big backs who catch out of the backfield. And he caught out of the backfield because in that same year he had 90 receptions, went over 800 yards. So,
That's
Steven
huge,
Jackson.
man. 90 receptions for a running back. That's huge. I mean,
That's
that's
not
incredible.
huge, exactly. That's what you think Marshall Faulk or maybe Edgerrin James and now Christian McCaffrey, that kind of back, or Roger Craig even back then. But yeah, Steven Jackson, to be as big as he was blazing fast. He didn't get enough credit for that. I was saying his speed wasn't that great up until I saw his speed looking great. So, you know what? Can't be right all the time. Just watch.
Yeah. I remember Steven Jackson. I remember him with the Rams. I remember him being big. I
Mm-hmm.
just my memory's a little bit foggy with him. Other than that,
The dreads.
but what's that?
I said his dreads. He had the dreads. He's a big dude
Yeah,
with the dreads.
I can
Like
picture
hair.
him. I can picture him, but I don't recall his numbers or his huge seasons. It was a surprise for me to hear you say he had 9 receptions one season.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. So yeah, but yeah, definitely a baller.
Oh, absolutely. And and to be that big, like I said, most times the big guys aren't the ones that are catching out of the backfield because, especially in the NFL back then, they were used to bruise you up. Bo Jackson didn't catch a lot out of the backfield because he was bruising people up. You know what I mean? Even though he
Mhm.
probably could have caught out of the backfield with that type of speed, hell, that's a mismatch for anybody, even a corner. You know,
Yeah, offenses were different back when Bull
when
was
Bo was
playing.
playing. But you had him and Marcus Allen in the same backfield, man. Go figure that.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
unfortunately, not for very long.
And they were
Unfortunately
rarely in the
for
backfield together.
Raiders fans. Yeah.
They put on the same team, but rarely they're together. Tecmo Bowl made us believe they should have been together because it wasn't on Tecmo Bowl. They were both back there. But
Yeah, we used to
anyway,
play. You can't play the Raiders. Nope, we're not playing if you're the Raiders. You
I
can't
you
play
know
the
what? I
Raiders.
used to like Kevin Mack in the other Tecmo Bowl because from
Kevin Mack
Cleveland.
was a bad dude in Tecmo Bowl too.
Yeah, man. So Christian Okoye was another one, but Kevin Mack was just you couldn't tackle. He was just
You can't
bouncing
say
guys
Christian
everywhere.
McCoy without mentioning 27. Steve Atwater. That
Oh,
was my guy
you
right
know
there.
what? And that sucks. For the kind of career he had, the bruising back he was, you're known for Steve Atwater, and then you're not than anything else. And he was a big dude, 261 pounds. Azusa Pacific College. He came for track, ended up playing football, and Steve Atwater put an end to that. But anyways, anyone you want to throw in there next? Because I mean, there's quite a few backs that you could
Well,
probably throw in.
well, I gave your boy from the U a shout out, so I gotta give my boy from Lincoln a shout out.
I already
Actually,
know who it is.
he's from Omaha, but he bleeds red. Amon Green.
Yep, Amon Green. Man, he did the quietest job of putting up the numbers he put up. I mean, he played for Green Bay. He was traded from Seattle, went to Green Bay, and just balled out. His yards per
Hmm.
carry average, putting up season after season of 1,000-yard rushing. And I don't think people think about him today at all as much as I think coming from a team like Green Bay.
Yeah,
He
he was
played with some.
pretty quiet. Although he could be explosive. He had outstanding speed, put up good numbers. But he wasn't a hey look at me I scored guy. Or he
That's
just
true.
didn't try to get a lot of attention. And on that team, Brett Favre is hogging up most of the attention
Yeah,
anyway. But yeah, he had over 70 touchdowns, rushed for 12,000 yards almost. He deserves some mention. He was great. I
yeah,
hated it that he was on in Green Bay, yellow and green, but that's my guy. He was at Nebraska. He helped them win championships,
yeah. But
and
Lawrence Phillips, in fact, he saved it when Lawrence Phillips did miss a game or two or three. He was the one that was there. And was that
yeah, I
his
think he
freshman
missed
year?
like 9.
Yeah,
What's
that's his
that?
freshman. Was that his freshman year when Lawrence Phillips was
It,
out, or was
it
this?
was his freshman year. His freshman year. Yeah.
Look at his yards per carry back then. They were through the damn roof. It almost made people think that we could do better without Lawrence Phillips in the problems. And then he comes into the NFL and he does better than Lawrence Phillips there. You
Yeah, that
know,
was crazy. Lawrence had a lot of problems, issues,
yeah, I
man.
know a lot of the problems, off the field that he was just battling, so his talent couldn't even flourish on the field, I think, because of what was going on. It's a marvel and a testament to his athleticism that he played as well as he did while in college, still dealing with a lot of what he was dealing with. Going away, coming back, still looking the same. Didn't really miss a beat. But Ahman Green was already in there showing that he could replace him if he needed to. He did it, came to the NFL, did well in the NFL. So Ahman Green certainly in 2003, over 1,800 yards. I mean, that goes without saying. You know, he averaged over
Yeah,
five
that's a
yards a
monster
carry.
season right there.
Anytime you go over 5 yards a carry, in this case, 5.3 yards a carry, 15 touchdowns, we should know your damn name. You should have something in Lambeau Field that showed that you was there
Yeah, what year was that again?
in 2003.
Yeah, was that the Sean Alexander year?
Well, that's probably why.
That's
It might
probably why.
be.
Yeah, I think he was MVP in 2003. So
But if nothing
yeah,
else,
when,
man,
when Sean Alexander scores 27 touchdowns and gets all the attention, then not a whole lot of running backs can get shown the same type of love.
and a running back who doesn't really pump himself up to stand out. You know, he's one of those quiet guys. So, like you say, a quiet guy is not gonna, the squeaky wheel gets the attention. Well, we had a squeaky wheel that had a lot of touchdowns that year and a lot of yards, and that was Sean Alexander. So, yeah, that was your boy Amon Green, and deservedly so, deserves to be up there. And so who would I come up with next? Well, probably a running back that was pretty solid. In fact, better than solid. I think overall he is. I think I could call him a poor man's Christian McCaffrey now, and that's Brian Westbrook, who played for the Eagles.
Good call.
Yeah, catching out of the backfield, he could run. He was a dynamic player that freaking injury bug. This guy couldn't get away from injuries, and coming into the NFL, he had injuries. Coming out of Villanova, this guy put up fantastic numbers there. Great student, athlete, everything. 31 in the Wonderlink. So this guy is, yeah, smart dude overall. He just had bad luck. He goes to the NFL, plays well, hurts his knee there. But in college, he hurts his knee going from, I believe, one class to another, slipped on black ice and tore his knee.
Damn, that's messed
Come
up.
on, man. Black ice or black cat? What is it? What is it? That's what was going on with him. But Brian Westbrook, definitely, when he was playing, man, he was a hell of a damn player. You know, I've been a Jets fan as long as I can remember. And the first player who I've actually became a fan of growing up was Wilbur Montgomery, number 31 for the Philadelphia Eagles.
31, I
That was my
remember him.
guy. And then as I got older, I kind of settled into just my team and just pointing out specific guys, and Barry Sanders, of course. And then but Brian Westbrook, they said could have been one of the greatest Eagles of all time in the backfield. And that includes Wilbur Montgomery. Charlie Garner was a hell of a player as well.
Charlie Garner was good. He had some good seasons. Yep.
Yeah,
Ricky
so
Waters was in
Ricky
Philly
Waters,
too.
look at the best they've had. Better than Herschel Walker. But yeah, Brian Westbrook, certainly somebody. Villanova's the alma mater of Howie Long as well. So yeah, man, big things coming out of Wildcat country.
So I mentioned him telling my story about Edgerrin James, but I mean Ricky Williams was no joke either in the 2000s.
Oh,
He
yeah,
had 5,000 yard seasons, rushed for over 10,000 yards, had I think almost 70 touchdowns. He was very productive. He couldn't stay off the weed, but he had some
that
very
was his problem.
productive seasons.
Yeah, I think he could have continued to play. His desire, you never knew what was going on in his head. I watched him at Texas. They called him Little Earl Campbell, and he looked just like Little Earl Campbell when he was at Texas, just bowling people over, just killing it. But did he leave the NFL the first time because he said they were using him too much? A running back saying that they were using him too much.
I
He
don't
said, too much
recall. I don't
pounding.
recall.
I think it was a game that the Dolphins played against. I can't remember. He got the ball over and over and over, and I'm like, man, his tongue was like hanging out, but he was effective. But then, not too long after that, the retirement came up, and I think he mentioned something about being used too much. And I remember even right now, Jamie Morris holds the record for the most carries in the game. He played with Washington that day. Jamie Morris, the brother of Joe Morris, who played for the Giants. And so Ricky Williams didn't get up there, but I guess he was getting too close. And he was taking that pounding. He was a much bigger guy than Jamie Morris.
Yeah, although he was very productive, I gotta say he didn't live up to the expectations. Coming out of Texas, he had won every award, set the rushing record, and he was supposed to light up the NFL, and he just didn't do it. Unfortunately, he didn't. Maybe the expectations were too high. Maybe it was due to him performing so well at Texas. I don't know, but he wasn't the same player in the NFL that he was at Texas. He wasn't as dominant, put it that way.
Well, I think
Although he was very productive.
do you think it had something to do with him playing in New Orleans, which at the time wasn't doing that well offensively? And he had things going on off the field. I mean, aside from the weed, he had Master P as his agent when he started, didn't he? He had Master P as his agent, and there was like some incentive-laden contract.
Did he?
Yeah, I think that's who he came out with. Was his agent when he first came out, and he had like an incentive-laden contract that made 0 sense, and he was just killed. If it was today, it would go viral. I mean, it was already viral.
He was probably he was probably upset he wasn't getting paid because he wasn't in the numbers.
That's what I'm saying. Off the field deals, he was getting. It was,
but doing interviews with his helmet on and stuff like that, like he did.
Psychological
he
thing.
walks a different path than most people.
Exactly.
More power to him.
Did you watch that on ESPN? I think 20 for 20, 30 for 30 they did for him.
Run Ricky Run.
Run Ricky Run. Bro, there's a lot of weird things going on.
I think I saw bits and pieces. I don't recall too much of it, but
man, I had to turn it off, bro. I didn't watch the end of it. I was like, this guy's out there, man. Not that I'm judging him for being out there, just the way that he just kind of decided to look, man. This guy was like, you know what? I just woke up this morning to do an interview.
It reminded me of Bison Daly.
You know what?
When I heard
right there, man.
The name of his boat was Hakuna Matata.
Yeah,
that's what I think. That's where I think Ricky's the wavelength. Him and Bison Daly, they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, it's like money's just for the weed. The money doesn't mean anything else. The cars, the house, nothing. Because you look and see how Ricky Williams is living now.
Yeah,
it's good
and
for
I'm
him.
not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying he and Bison Daly, two peas in a pot.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about it. All these people. Incidentally, though, I was actually thinking about Bison Daly a couple of weeks ago only because of what happened to him. Because I think I was talking to a friend of mine about things that are happening in sports. And that was one of the people that came up. Because who's the other guy whose wife killed him? I forgot his name. Oh, my God, the basketball player whose wife killed him, man. And she went to prison for it.
I was going to say Steve McNair.
Oh, no. The woman who killed him was from here in the Jacksonville area, in Orange Park. He met her at like a David Buster's, and oh man, that was ridiculous. It happened on Independence Day. I remember hearing it on the radio. I was like, "What? Steve McNair? Man, craziness!" But I can't remember this. Oh my God, I was just man. But anyway, we was talking
quarterback. Who was it?
It was a basketball player.
Oh, basketball player.
His wife killed him.
His wife killed
him. She just went to prison within the last two.
How long ago?
About the last 2-3 years, I think she went to prison for it. Can't remember how who it could be. Man, anyway, damn. Now that's gonna bother the hell out of me. But yeah, man, but Bison, Bison Delay and Ricky Williams, a lot of the same things and tendencies. Money doesn't mean anything or didn't mean anything for him in Bison's case. But just live their life. You know what I mean? They don't live like we live, or most of us live, put it that way. So anybody else you want to throw on the list?
There's only one guy left. The best out of all of them. I think I mentioned them, but
LaDainian Tomlinson,
right?
Speaks for itself.
I mean, he may not be the only guy left, but I'm not getting anybody else come to mind.
Oh no, but 1,900 yards plus in his first 9 seasons, 17 touchdowns, bro. 153 total touchdowns in his career. He pales in comparison to everybody. That's pretty much, everyone else pales in comparison to him. Make it so. Yeah, it goes without saying. LaDainian Tomlinson, that's the best.
The MVP season where he broke Sean Alexander's record with 28 touchdowns.
Yep.
He's in the Hall of Fame, over 16,000 yards. Just in the 2000s, for over 16,000 yards from scrimmage, rushing and receiving. So, I mean, he was all over the place.
He was a natural for the NFL, a natural for football. I looked at his college career when he was at TCU, and he did over 400 yards in a game there. I remember that game that he had done it. And then I also remember they were going undefeated, and they got beat by San Jose freaking State. What the heck happened? It's like a bump in the road. And that's not even a bump. That was a wall that just popped up. Yeah, but LaDainian Tomlinson put up so many numbers. And I watched him play in person. And this is one thing. If you watch players on television all the time, you haven't been to a game, and you want to judge a player and say, man, he doesn't look as fast as I thought he was, go to the game. I respect Brian Urlacher to this day because I was like, man, that guy's overrated. Overrated. Went to a game, one of the best guys I've seen. No BS. The way he goes from sideline to sideline, bro, Brian Urlacher was an absolute beast. And I should have known better because he was a freaking safety in college at New Mexico. And so you have to have speed to do that. He was just that damn athletic. He comes over to the NFL, plays linebacker, obviously a big linebacker. The way that guy moved from sideline to sideline, it was a marvel of how anyone got away from him. I'm serious. He was that damn good from sideline to sideline. LaDainian Tomlinson.
I watched him every Sunday. Urlacher
exactly.
was he put his name up there with the greatest of all time for Bears linebackers. He had some amazing seasons, and that's why he was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
No problem.
But this is about running backs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about a comparison of watching a player on television than seeing him in person. LaDainian Tomlinson was that guy as well. He came here to Jacksonville. It was like he took like 5 steps and there was a first down, or not even 5 steps and it was already a first down. He hits the corner and you see this acceleration, and it confirms once again how you could not make the NFL when you saw him do it. Like, yeah, I would have beat him out. The kicker, maybe, not him. And you could just see the speed he had doing what he was doing. He was just LaDainian Tomlinson, man, catching out of the backfield. Not even a willing blocker. He was a flat-out blocker.
Not to throw shade at Jamal Lewis. We've given him his flowers. We talked about him. We praised him, and other guys that run like Jamal Lewis, kind of bigger, whatever. But LaDainian Tomlinson was fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he's up there with Marshall Faulk. Guys you just want to see them catch the ball, run the ball, whatever. They have the ball in their hands. Juke a player here, spin there. I mean, it's just fun to watch, man. Crazy.
And they make it happen. You could get the ball and do a whole bunch of everything and get, 3 yards. He's getting 15 yards. He's probably getting a 3-yarder, but it was probably a valuable 3-yarder. You probably with 4th and 1, he gets the 3 yards. And he just did everything you asked him to do on the football field. He stayed out there. He came to the Jets, man, as an old man, was still making plays as an old guy. So, man, more props to LaDainian Tomlinson than I have time to give. So, yeah, no question about that. LaDainian Tomlinson on the list. There's some other guys he probably could have thrown out there. Deuce McAllister was one of them. I thought he was a bit overrated, I thought. I remember watching him at an Ole Miss. They were talking about a 4-2. I was like, no. He just, no. But he goes to the NFL, plays with New Orleans. He did well, had a nice career. The injury bug, like which happens to most running backs. But Deuce McAllister is another guy that, to throw out there because he was somebody in the 2000s that had a name for himself and people knew. I don't know if they'll say that Deuce was loose. Willis McGahee's another one. Willis McGahee's another guy. And
man, he had some severe injuries and he came back.
That's the point. Man. That injury he had at Miami against Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl, he should not have had in the NFL career.
It looked like a career ender.
That's it, a complete career ender. And you think about what kept Gale Sayers. I know technology wasn't what it once was, but you look at Gale Sayers' career was over because of the injury he had back then. Willis McGahee pretty much had his knee exploded, and then he came back. He was so good that he couldn't go to the combine, and the Buffalo Bills still took him in the first round. You could have easily got him I can't say easily because somebody else might have gotten him in the second round, but you probably could have waited the second, third round to get him based on sight unseen.
Probably, but you know how bad that injury was. In my opinion, anyway, I believe if that happens nowadays, they wouldn't even show the replay.
You know what? After the other day, with Nick Chubb, when they
decided they wouldn't show the replay.
They won't show it. I remember when Napoleon McCallum. Remember he hurt his knee on Monday Night Football. They showed it over and over, the ostrich leg. I'm like, God, man, stop showing it. Now they probably won't show it. They'll be like, yo, man, you need to show it. Put it on YouTube or something.
And then they'll talk to us like we're stupid. They'll say, oh, that gasp you heard from the crowd, they showed it on the Jumbotron. No shit. We wait for you to show the replay, and we hear the crowd. We know what's going on. What the hell?
And by the way, before we go with this, what do you think about throwing Warrick Dunn out there?
You know what? If for nothing else, what he's doing off the field, man, we got to talk about Warrick Dunn, man.
Warrick Dunn's just a man,
all around good guy
that you never heard a bad thing about.
Mm-hmm.
Another person from the time, and considering the things that had happened to him in his life, his mom getting killed the way she did before he went over to
Yeah.
Florida State. I kept up with recruiting a lot. I still do to this day because it's just an absolute passion. I don't need money. I don't need anything. I could just keep up with recruiting basketball and football. And I remember him coming up. I think he played for Catholic High School in New Orleans. He was the quarterback in like the running, not the running shoot, but the wishbone or something. And he was so fast and ridiculous. He was 150 pounds, 155 pounds. He goes to Florida State. He wants the red shirt. But after they had a team scrimmage, Bobby Bowden saw this little dude. It was like, yo, bro, we got to put you out there. You can't redshirt. And he comes in and just lights it up. And every Gator fan and every Florida State fan knows what happened. They know who Warrick Dunn is, and they will forever. It's already in the annals. You watch the video and how he made the touchdown. And but Warrick Dunn. And then what you say off the field, houses for a single mom. I mean, come on, man. This guy's gold, man. He's gold.
Yeah. Warrick Dunn gets it. He gets it.
Yeah.
God bless Warrick Dunn, man. But
yeah, absolutely.
On the field, he could catch it out of the backfield. He can make you miss.
Make you miss.
Quick feet. I mean, he could run the ball. Warrick Dunn's a bad dude.
And why was he 178 pounds throughout almost his entire career? And the dude hardly got injured. I mean, it was he and Mike Allstott that was making it happen in the beginning. Then he goes into Atlanta, does some things up there.
I think, he's quick enough and his vision was good enough. He could see the guys coming. He could avoid the big hits. I don't recall him ever getting, blasted.
Yeah.
Same thing with Barry Sanders. And guys they had targets on those.
They trying to get him. Man. Yeah, man. They're trying to get him.
You couldn't line them up. You couldn't get them on lock. You just be glad you get them down, man.
Man, Warrick Dunn, bro. Oh, man. I mean, he had 5 1,000-yard seasons, so it wasn't like he was some spot duty guy. He was a primary guy. You know what I mean? And he was with Mike Allstott.
That was a deadly backfield with him.
Oh, was it, man?
Him and Allstott.
Allstott, that's another one, man. And shoot, when Allstott used to big boy guys when he used to play, man. And I hear people call him overrated. What was overrated about Mike Allstott? He was actually running better than fullbacks and still kept the power. Lorenzo Neal gets his credit for blocking. Lorenzo Neal was putting you in the ICU. If he wasn't running hard all the time.
If you rate Allstott as a running back, sure, he's overrated. But he was a fullback. He wasn't a halfback. He was not a halfback. You got to rank him as a fullback. And as a fullback, dude was incredible. Because compared to other fullbacks, he had Olympic speed.
Yeah, Tommy Vardell was supposed to be a great fullback. Look what happened there. He had the knee injury, but he wasn't going to be anything like Mike Allstott. Tom Rathman, you could probably look at because he was in an offense that took advantage of everything and had weapons that made you have to go one-on-one a lot of times. So the fullback got the ball out of the backfield a lot. And he had Roger Craig with him. But yeah, Warrick Dunn, I just had to throw him out there.
Rathman was a bad dude, the Husker backfield in the pros.
Who?
Roger Craig and
Roger Craig. Yeah. Right. You know what? Yeah, that's true. Tom Rathman, Roger Craig in the pros at Nebraska. Nebraska put out those players, man. I don't care what it might have been, the gap they might have had between championships, but individual players, they put them out there and the dudes just play, man. I still think of D'Angelo Evans every now and then and what he could have done at Nebraska if he would have stayed.
You love to mention number 4.
Yeah, that's the dude, though. I thought he would have been the dude. He came from the same state as Barry Sanders. I think he went to Wichita Collegiate High School. But either way, yeah, man. Rudy Johnson was another name on it, but no. I just thought I throw his name out there. We don't need to go through these stats. I used to always wonder how come they can't tackle this guy? He was slow. I thought he was, but he was getting yards and getting touchdowns in the NFL. I remember that at Auburn, slow, but they still drafted him and then he goes to the NFL. He's slow, but he's getting yards. I just can't get it. Can't get it. Apparently, it's not for me. But anyway, that'll be it for the list.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Did we miss anybody? Do you agree with the people we mentioned? Are we full of crap? Whatever. Let us know. Give us some feedback.
Yeah, those are some good players out there.
You can't give us crap about LaDainian Thomason and
Holmes
and Jamal Lewis and the guys we did mention, though.
Even people from the AFC West came on here. They couldn't complain about it. And, he was the one who damaged your teams the entire time he was there. They got to give him his props where it's due. I think when players are that great, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? your favorite team getting beaten up by them, doesn't matter. You just give this guy the credit they deserve, and that'll be it. Like Lawrence Taylor. Redskins fans talk about him. Dallas fans talk about him. Other people talk about him who watched him. Philly fans and who hate everybody, but they still give him his credit though. So, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I hate the Giants. I hate this and that, but Lawrence Taylor, man, forget it. Never seen anything like it. So that'll be it for today. We'll catch you tomorrow to end the week. And of course, we will get down to the baseball because this show here on a Wednesday is typically something we do.
Yeah, because the Rays got eliminated, the Blue Jays got eliminated.
Man,
that's the team I was going for. I didn't predict them to win. That's who I was going for. Now I got to find a new team.
And the Rays, starting off the way they did to end the way they have now, lost. And they only got one run in the 2 games before the sweep. So a lot to think about when the season starts and you start going winning. Start off 15-0 or 14-0, and then you continue to go on. Kind of like the Detroit Tigers from the night. 84 Tigers. I think they were 35-5, but they ended up winning the World Series.
Yeah.
So not this time for the Rays. Sorry. Hopefully the Baltimore Orioles keep the blessings of the AL East going. But we'll see a lot of new teams in the playoffs altogether between the AL.
Somebody beat the Astros, man.
I want the Astros beaten, of course. They're on the hit list just for being the Astros or assholes. We'll call them that.
Astros.
The Astros. Yeah, give me a sign on that one. But anyways, and I'll look at it from the outfield. I'm Trav. He's biased. We'll catch you tomorrow on another episode of the Sports Bag Bros. Deuces.
Peace.